For a long time, I went through this phase where I baked half-sphere cakes and then decorated them to look like animals. Something about them being like super round and fat looking always made them really cute. This one I iced in buttercream icing and then covered it in this baby blue fondant. Once they're covered, I start adding on all of their little details using fondant. I always think of fondant as like adult Play-Doh. I always have so much fun working with it and seeing what I can come up with. You can even do things like add shimmer dust to it to make it shine. When I'm trying to get the right shape, a lot of times I try to use cookie cutters, other times I just try to manipulate it with my hands. Flower wire works perfect to make anything stand out 3D. This is how my narwhal turned out. Let me know if you want to see the other round animals. Ever wonder how these crazy surprise inside cakes are done? I'm going to show you. I start off by dyeing my vanilla cake batter every color of the rainbow because I wanted to create a rainbow heart inside of my vanilla cake. Then I also have the base of my cake, which is going to be an 8-inch round vanilla cake. Basically, I'm going to cut the rainbow in the shape of the heart, but I have to cut the heart out of my vanilla cake for that heart to fit into, if that makes sense. This is really challenging to wrap your mind around. I had a really hard time, but I found drawing it up on a piece of paper helped me figure out all the different angles and the shapes that I was going for. I'm going to cut them out of the rainbow side first, and then cut them out of your vanilla cake so you know what shape you're going to putting into the cake and what shape you need to make room for. But of course, the terrifying side and exciting side of surprise inside cakes is you're never going to know if what you did worked until you cut it open and you have that big reveal. This was a cake I was terrified to do for years, but I'm so excited I finally did it. Hope you guys liked it, and don't forget to like and follow for more. I'm going to bake the most Canadian thing I can think of for Canada Day, but in a mini form. So I'm going to layer out my mini vanilla cake with some chocolate buttercream. Using a grass tip, I'm just going to pipe this kind of fur going all over the cake. I made a bunch of tiny details using fondant and a black edible marker. Nice thing about adding fondant details to a buttercream cake, they just kind of stick on. And lastly, this little beaver needed a tail. Shout out to all my Canadian followers. I love you guys and happy Canada Day. Wondering why there's paper clips and cupcake liners? Keep watching, it's only going to get more weird before it starts to make sense. After that, I filled them with spray foam, let them set, mixed up some acrylic paint, and then painted the tops of them. Then took some red oven baked clay, rolled into a ball, and then squished down the top of it and put this little fisheye hook in the top. Then just stuck them in the oven to bake. I then took lots of different colors of clay and rolled them into these skinny strips and baked those. Once they were done, I cut them into lots of little pieces. I love how all of these colors came together. Next, I have some caulking and some pink acrylic paint. I'm just going to mix that together and put it into a piping bag with a tip. Finally, you can start seeing the whole thing come together. I love how I was able to use these household materials to make a realistic looking cupcake that you can keep forever. Hope you guys like this video, like and follow for more. I'm going to use this mug to make a gooey chocolate chip cookie in 30 seconds. I'm going to add water, oil, vanilla, flaxseed, and baking powder and sugar into my mug and give that a mix. Don't worry, I will leave all the measurements in the comment section. I'm also going to add some flour, give it a mix, add some more flour, and of course, chocolate chips. Mix that together and pop that in the microwave. I love recipes like this because sometimes you don't want to bake like 24 cookies and have them hang around the house. You just want one dessert. I like to top mine off with some ice cream, and it is so good. Like and follow for more. I love making tiny things. I feel like the smaller they are and the more detailed they are, the cuter they are. Right now I'm making a mini mixed berry pie, and I did this little lattice work on top, and I did this kind of twist crust around the sides. After that, I made a little mini cake that I actually sliced so you could see the slice out of the cake, and then I made all these pretty flowers that I put on top. Wrapped it with a little pink trim, and it looks kind of like a mini wedding cake. And to go with my treats, I thought it'd be nice to make some fine china, so I made a really cute teapot and a little mini teacup with this cute spout. I then hand painted all of these flowers on them. They were really time consuming because they're so tiny and detailed, which is what I was kind of going for. Of course, couldn't forget the saucer. I also made these colorful macaroons that I made on these little plates. One thing I didn't mention is everything is 100% edible. I even decorated a whole tea party cake to go with the theme. Like and follow for more videos. Father's Day is right around the corner, so I want to show you guys how I made one of my favorite Father's Day cakes. Making a super dad cake for all the great dads out there. So on the top of it, I chiseled all of these muscles, kind of like Superman. I crumb coated my cake with buttercream icing and then covered it with my blue fondant, making sure I got into all those grooves that I created. After that, it was time to make the super detailed logo, which I used a paper template and then just really carefully cut that out of red fondant. I then put some water onto it so my other color fondant would stick to it, flipped it over, and that's how I created this really clean look. Add that onto the cake and then outlined it with some black fondant. Then using an edible marker, I wrote Dad right in the middle and then covered the sides with white fondant and kind of peeled them away like a shirt. Added a tie that was just kind of flopped off to the side, and then added all these stitch lines and all these little buttons. I find cakes are all about the details. The more details, the better they're gonna look. Father's Day to all the dads out there, and like and follow for more videos. Today I'm gonna share with you guys my favorite summertime treat, burger cupcakes with sugar cookie fries. I baked my vanilla cupcakes, cut them in half, and then wet the top with a little bit of water, then sprinkled some sesame seeds on top so they look like burger buns. I then dyed my buttercream all these different colors for my burger toppings. I even cut up some green candies and mixed that into some piping jelly with a little bit of green food coloring for some relish. For the burger patties, I'm going to use these ooey gooey brownies that I absolutely love and some little slices of fondant cheese. Then I'm just going to top them with my favorite toppings. So for this one, I'm going to do some lettuce and ketchup and mustard. Then just stick your top bun on top. For the sugar cookie fries, I just rolled out my sugar cookie dough, cut them into these thin little strips, and bake them off. They don't take long to bake at all. I wet them with water and then just sprinkled them with a little bit of sugar. They're so good, and even better if you dip them into your buttercream ketchup. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and follow. I decided to attempt one of the craziest cake trends out there. Once I layered up my really colorful cake, I iced it in 3 layers of buttercream. White, then this pink and purple, and then teal on top because you need a lot of frosting for this technique. I used these pottery tools to carve my frozen buttercream away from the cake. So I popped my cake in the freezer for about an hour so that way the buttercream is really cold, and then you can carve it with these tools. It is the coolest technique, but it is super tricky. I love the way it turned out. I'm completely obsessed. Like and follow for more cake.
I don't have the numbers, you don't have the names. We're just putting notches in the bedpost all the same. They don't got the magic.
I made this cake for YouTube and the video blew up. It has over 14 million views. On the inside, I did this beautiful rainbow pattern. So when you cut it open, on every slice, you're gonna see that kind of rainbow filling. And then the outside, I iced it to this kind of like orange yellow box. I don't know if you guys can tell what it is yet. I might have just given it away with the logo. But when you pipe down some buttercream on some saran wrap, then you transfer it over to the cake or cellophane wrap, it does this beautiful logo. You can transfer anything like that. It works so well. I then added all these kind of fondant details to the cake and added some more details and buttercream, and everything is starting to come together. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some ice cream cones and wrap them into fondant and stick those into the cake with some cake pop sticks. There it is. It's starting to all come together, and I can't believe how well it turned out. See? Rainbow slice in every single slice. I love it.
My life be like, yeah.
The most popular cookies I've ever made, so let me show you how I did them. I did my sugar cookie dough yellow and pink, and then I rolled it out with a rolling pin, cut out some hearts and stars. I then baked them off, and once they were baked, I dyed my royal icing, all these pretty colors, and started flooding my cookies. Flooding cookies is basically just having a thin consistency of royal icing so that way you can do these like really cool designs on them, and then they flatten out so it looks like one like really smooth sheet of icing. I don't know how to describe it, but it looks really cool. I then piped on all these really adorable faces, except the fun thing about these cookies is they're going to be two-sided. I made this one cookie with a hole in it that I could fill with sprinkles, so that way it's kind of like a cookie sandwich filled with sprinkles inside, so when you bite into it, boom, sprinkles. I baked the world's tiniest wedding cake in an easy bake oven, and I'm going to show you guys how I did it. So I baked my cakes, and I actually made each tier a different flavor because of course it's a wedding cake and I had to be classy like that. First tier was a lemon raspberry, which happens to be my favorite. The second tier I did a chocolate salted caramel, and the third just vanilla. I crumb coated my very tiny cakes, which was very challenging, and then stacked those up and then gave those a thicker coat of Italian meringue icing. I then made some custom fondant flowers out of all these pretty spring colors and kind of layered those up and made these tiny little leaves. Didn't realize how big my fingers were. If you ever want to feel like a giant, make a tiny cake. But I am obsessed with how it turned out and how tiny it is. Like and follow for more videos. Everyone's been so into gardening lately, so I'm gonna make a gardening cake. I iced my entire cake in a green buttercream filling and then made these little lines that I put Oreo crumbs and then outlined those with grass and put a little picket fence around it. Then I used some fondant and food coloring and I made all of these different edible vegetables. So I made a little pumpkin, little corns, and I of course had to make carrots. I actually planted them in the cake to look like carrots. I cut out a purple flower and then I ruffled the edge to kind of look like a purple cabbage and made a bunch of other little vegetables I stuck in all their little sections. I even made a little tomato and red pepper vine. This cake had a million details and took so long, so don't let it flop. Like and follow if you guys want to see more. Let's make one of my favorite mini cakes. Every time I make mini cakes, I always make one big cake and then cut out all these little cakes out of it using a circle cutter. I then layer those up with icing and then cover them with more icing, cover it in fondant. Once I've got that all smooth and I've got the perfect base, I'm going to start with my decorations. For this one, I'm going to make a unicorn horn by just twisting 2 pieces of yellow fondant together and then dusting that with gold. I drew on the eyes using a black edible marker and then piped on all of these details using a really small star tip. I love how colorful this mane looks. For its ears, I just layered up some white fondant and yellow fondant that I dusted gold, give them a pinch, and it makes perfect ears every single time. Don't forget to like and follow for more cakes. Can you guys guess what I'm making before it's done? I made myself this paper template and cut out the shape of the cake that I'm looking for. I then covered it in buttercream icing and covered it in orange fondant. And then I wanted to make these little cut lines on the edge with a little piece of white fondant. Then I very carefully cut out all these drips. It took a little while, but I feel like it came out really well. And I added these itty bitty tiny sprinkles on top of that. Then I cut this piece out and stuck it in the bottom. If you guessed mini popsicle, you're right. Don't forget to like and follow if you guys want to see more stuff like this. Bye.